Live from New Delhi, you're watching DDI News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates a new campus of Nalanda University, the world's oldest center of learning that dates back to the 5th century. A group of US lawmakers call on the Dalai Lama in India, say they won't allow China to influence the choice of the Tibetan spiritual leader's successor. Russia and North Korea sign a comprehensive partnership pact. It includes a mutual defense clause under which they agree to help each other repel external aggression. And South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa sworn in as president for a second term, this time at the head of a coalition government. Do you know that India is home to the world's oldest university and the first residential one at that? Nalanda was an ancient center of learning in the 5th century. So it is older than the University of Oxford in the UK. In its new incarnation, Nalanda University is located in what is today's eastern India. It is an international university that's supported by 18 member countries of the East Asia Summit. And it's just got a brand new campus.
In its modern avatar, Nalanda University came into being in 2014. It operated from a temporary site with a modest cohort of 14 students. The construction of the new campus began in 2017. Speaking at its inauguration ceremony, Prime Minister Modi said that Nalanda University is a symbol of India's academic heritage and vibrant cultural exchange.
नालंदा ये केवल नाम नहीं है, नालंदा एक पहचान है, एक सम्मान है, नालंदा एक मूल्य है, नालंदा एक मंत्र है, गौरव है, गाथा है, नालंदा है उद्घोष इस सत्य का कि आग की लपटों में पुस्तकें भले जल जाएं, लेकिन आग की लपटें ज्ञान को नहीं मिटा सकती.
The ceremony was attended by India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, Bihar's Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, and diplomats from 17 countries. Nalanda was conceived as an international university with collaboration between India and the East Asia Summit countries. The university is located at Rajgir in India's northern state of Bihar. It offers postgraduate and doctoral courses. The Net Zero campus is located near the ruins of ancient center of learning. Ahead of its inauguration, Prime Minister Modi visited the ruins, which are a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Established during the era of Gupta Empire in the 5th century, its faculty includes renowned Buddhist scholars. Bureau Report, DD India.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin made a historic visit to North Korea, marking his first trip to the reclusive nation in 24 years. The visit underscored Putin's pledge to boost economic and security ties with North Korea amidst ongoing international tensions.
Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived in North Korea on Wednesday for his first visit in 24 years, vowing to deepen trade and security ties with the reclusive nuclear-armed state and to support it against the United States. On his arrival, Putin was welcomed in a lavish ceremony and cheering crowds in Pyongyang. An honor guard, including mounted soldiers and a large crowd of civilians, gathered at the Kim Il-sung Square. As the day progressed, North Korean leader Kim held a summit meeting with visiting President Vladimir Putin. North Korea intends to further improve its strategic cooperation with Russia.
The situation continues to be complex and changing all the time. We take this opportunity to confirm once again that we will continue to further more closely strengthen strategic communication with the Russian leadership and Russia even in the complex global geopolitical situation and continue to unconditionally support all of the Russia's policies.
Later in the day, Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un signed a new agreement which includes a promise of mutual aid if one of their countries is attacked.
Подписанный сегодня договор.
The comprehensive partnership agreement signed today includes, among other, mutual assistance in the event of aggression against one of the parties to this agreement.
I have no doubt that this powerful treaty signed between our two countries will be very constructive, prospective, strictly peace-loving and defensive, aimed at promoting and defending the fundamental interest of the people of two countries, which will be driving force to accelerate the creation of a new multinational world free from domination, subjugation, hegemony and unilateral authority.
In a gesture of goodwill, Putin gifted Kim a luxury Russian-built Aurus limousine, symbolizing the deepening personal rapport between the two leaders. They later toured Pyongyang, including a solemn moment at North Korea's Liberation Monument, where Putin laid a wreath, followed by a gala concert featuring North Korean dance and music. Meanwhile, the Vietnamese capital Hanoi ramped its security as Russian President Vladimir Putin will arrive in Vietnam after concluding his two-day visit to North Korea. With Bureau Inputs, Amish Mahajan's report for DD India.
Meanwhile, the United States has voiced concerns about closer ties between Russia and North Korea, saying that the deepening cooperation between the two countries is of concern for anyone that's interested in maintaining peace and stability on the Korean peninsula.
The deepening cooperation between Russia and the DPRK is something that should be of concern, especially to anyone that's interested in maintaining peace and stability on the Korean peninsula. But also supporting the people of Ukraine as they continue to fight against Russian aggression. And so, of course, you're well aware of DPRK providing ammunition and weapons to Russia that's been able to help them perpetuate their illegal and unprovoked war against the Ukrainian people. So it's something that we're going to continue to keep an eye on.
And Dasha Chernysheва now joins us from Moscow for more. Dasha, what more can you tell us about a mutual defense pact signed by Russia and North Korea?
Well, we have heard the Russian authorities confirming that the Kremlin has previously been working on this new document, which is called the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Agreement. It comes in replacement of the previous documents that were there defining the relations between Moscow and Pyongyang. So this document elevates the relationship to a completely new level. It also provides for the possibility of helping one another if one of the countries is attacked. No more detail has been provided with regard to that. However, the Russian president also said that Moscow doesn't rule out with this agreement the possibility of developing its military technological cooperation with the DPRK. At the same time, the Russian officials also know that this document doesn't contradict the international law. This is something that many have been worried about since North Korea is under a series of the UN Security Council sanctions, and Russia is a permanent member of the UNSC and has the veto power. So it was one of the countries that was in favor of these sanctions imposition. Certainly, the understanding is very clear. Moscow is willing to develop its ties at the UN Security Council. Moscow has also been saying that it wants to see the mechanism that will be helping to review those sanctions against Pyongyang. But the idea here is to send a message to the Western world that these two countries are there standing shoulder to shoulder. And despite the attempts by the West, as Vladimir Putin has pointed out, to cripple the economies of these two states, it has not been successful. And these documents, as Kim Jong-un underlined, is there to accelerate the transition to the multipolarity on the world stage.
Dasha, help us understand something here. Does it mean that Russia could share missile or nuclear technology with North Korea in exchange for weapons to fight in Ukraine?
Well, to this moment, we have heard both countries saying that those were merely allegations that have not found any proof. So Moscow has been insisting that it is dealing well when it comes to the supplies of the Russian operation in Ukraine on its own, accelerating the output domestically. At the same time, Moscow has also been saying that it is willing to deepen partnership with North Korea, but in line with the international law. We don't know all the details of these agreements, but certainly this could be shedding the light into how tight the cooperation would be. But given the nature of this relationship, where these two countries that have been isolated by the West are trying to bring cooperation closer, nothing could be ruled out. And so far we have heard that as part of this arrangement, the two capitals will be seeking to develop its transport. It's also about the communication between the peoples. It's also about the tourism sector, medical services, and so on and so forth. So the area for cooperation that these two countries have is very significant, and these documents that we don't have much detail of could include a lot of those issues as well.
Dasha, thank you. Appreciate it. That was Dasha Chernyshova reporting from Moscow. And moving on, Cyril Ramaphosa has been sworn in for a second term as South Africa's president amid pomp and ceremony, weeks after his African National Congress party lost its majority. Lawmakers re-elected him as president last week after a deal between the ANC, its long-term rival, the Democratic Alliance, and other parties to form a coalition government. DD India's Isaac Lukando reports from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania.
18 heads of state and government attended President Ramaphosa's swearing-in ceremony, including representatives from the Republic of China and the State of Palestine. Former President Jacob Zuma and his recently formed Umkhonto weSizwe, or MK party, were absent, declaring the inauguration a farce. The MK party, which secured 15% of the vote and 58 parliamentary seats, also boycotted Parliament's first session last Friday. Ramaphosa is set to lead a government of national unity in coalition with 4 other political parties, including the Pro-Business Democratic Alliance, or DA. The specifics of his incoming cabinet remain undecided, with ongoing negotiations shaping the new governing alliance. This coalition represents a shift towards the political center, as the ANC's left-wing and populist breakaway parties decline to join. Combined, the coalition partners hold 68% of the parliamentary seats. The president is expected to outline a plan to revive the struggling economy, which has been plagued by power cuts, rising crime, and high unemployment. Isaac Lukando in Dar es Salaam, reporting for DD India.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. Israel approves offensive on Hezbollah in Lebanon amid escalating cross-border clashes with the outfit. And the Philippines urges China to avoid actions that endanger sailors and vessels alike in the South China Sea.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. To West Asia now, where Israel has approved operational plans for an offensive on Lebanon after escalating cross-border clashes with the Hezbollah. Israel's military said that the head of its Northern Command, Major General Ori Gordon, and the head of Operations Directorate, Major General Oded Baswick, held a situational assessment on Tuesday and approved its Lebanon battle plan. Israel's officials on Wednesday inspected blast sites in northern Israel following rocket strikes from Lebanon. Since last week, tensions have escalated between Israel and Lebanon following an Israeli airstrike that resulted in the death of Hezbollah's most senior commander yet. In response, the Hezbollah retaliated by launching the largest barrage of rockets and drones seen in the hostilities so far, targeting Israel's military sites. Earlier on Tuesday, Israel's army released footage which it said showed airstrikes against Hezbollah targets in several locations of southern Lebanon and the interception of a suspicious aerial target in northern Israel. A charity is providing meals for Palestinians in Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip, where many displaced families are sheltering. Children gathered around big pots of food waiting for their turn to receive the meal. Displaced Palestinians on Wednesday thanked for the charity's work and hoped that they develop this work further. As war enters into 8 months, there has been no sign of a let-up in the fighting. In other news, the European Commission on Wednesday proposed disciplinary steps against France and 6 other EU countries over running excessive budget deficits, but will announce deadlines for their reduction only in November. The countries singled out by the EU executive arm, which is the enforcer of EU laws, are Belgium, France, Italy, Hungary, Malta, Poland and Slovakia. The deficits are mainly a legacy of the COVID-19 pandemic and the energy price crisis that followed Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. France is in the spotlight because it is the EU's second biggest economy and faces political turmoil after President Emmanuel Macron called a snap parliamentary election in response to his party's poor results in the EU parliamentary election. The disciplinary steps, known as the excessive deficit procedure, will be the first such move since the EU suspended its fiscal rules aimed at preventing excessive borrowing in 2020 and then reformed the framework to take into account the new economic realities of high post-pandemic debt. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Wednesday responded to concerns about illegal migration hitting new highs by doubling down on his controversial plan to send migrants to Rwanda. Questioned while on the campaign trail in the lead-up to the 4th July election, Sunak said that the incentive for people illegally entering the country can only be removed by flying them off to Rwanda upon arrival.
Well, in the last 12 months, the numbers of people crossing the channel is actually down by almost a third. That hasn't happened before, and it shows that we can make a difference. That's what I've been focused on doing. But look, there's a choice at this election.
The highest number yesterday.
There's a choice. There's always going to be days which are worse than others. But the choice of this election is about how do we solve this problem for good. I've got a plan to do that, and that's about getting an incentive up and running, or deterrent up and running, removing the incentive for people to come here. It's as simple as that. If people come here illegally, they shouldn't be able to stay. We need to remove them somewhere else. And if we can get that up and running, then people will stop coming. And multiple other European countries agree with us. That's a choice for people at this election. If you want that deterrent, then you need the flights to go to Rwanda. That's what I'll deliver. In contrast, Keir Starmer's going to let everyone out of the detention centres, offer an amnesty, make us a soft touch of Europe when it comes to migration, and I don't think that's right.
In France, the far-right National Rally Party is seen leading the first round of the forthcoming parliamentary election with 34% of votes. It's ahead of the 22% for the left-wing Popular Front coalition. As the opinion polls suggest, the far-right National Rally will win ahead of the left-wing alliance, with President Macron's centrist group coming in third. To the Indo-Pacific now, where the Philippines on Wednesday urged China to avoid actions that endanger sailors and vessels alike in the South China Sea, saying that peace could not be achieved if China's words did not match its behavior in the disputed waters. The Filipino Foreign Ministry denounced as illegal and aggressive China's actions during a routine resupply mission on 17th of June, which the Filipino military said had severely injured a Navy sailor and damaged Manila's vessels. A Filipino sailor suffered serious injury after what its military described as intentional high-speed ramming by the Chinese Coast Guard, aiming to disrupt a resupply mission for troops stationed on the second Thomas Shoal. China's Coast Guard disputed these statements, saying that Manila's vessel deliberately and dangerously approached a Chinese ship in an unprofessional manner, forcing it to take control measures, including boarding inspections and forced eviction. Staying in the region, New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has said that negotiations on an information security agreement had been concluded with Japan's Prime Minister Kishida Fumio. Speaking in Tokyo on Wednesday, Luxon said that the two countries have agreed to take the partnership forward on a number of areas, such as maritime security and enforcement of sanctions. Luxon said that they had discussed Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to North Korea and the importance of Japan and New Zealand's cooperation to deter North Korea's missile threat to regional security.
During my meeting with Prime Minister Kishida today, we have agreed a number of areas to take our two great nations' partnership forward.
To modernize its military. In a response on Wednesday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said China was opposed to the U.S. coercing other countries and suppressing China's semiconductor industry. A spokesperson for the Dutch Foreign Ministry confirmed a meeting had taken place in the Netherlands on Monday. In a world of contrasting extremes, India battles scorching heat and heavy rains, while devastating floods wreak havoc in parts of Bangladesh. Tragedy also struck the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca amidst a scorching heat wave, claiming hundreds of lives. Meanwhile, China swelters in a relentless heat wave described as stove-like by locals, even as Mexico braces for intense rainfall from potential tropical cyclone 1. Rabindra Chauhan reports.
The world is witnessing severe weather patterns with regions facing contrasting extremes. India is contending with the paradox of heavy rain and extreme heat across various states. The northern region is seeing sweltering temperature, while the southern and eastern parts are battling intense monsoon rain. Dozens of tourists and locals were rescued by security personnel in northeast Indian state of Sikkim after landslides triggered by heavy rain left them stranded in a remote region. Reviewing the heatwave situation, the Health Ministry directed the start of special heatwave units in government hospitals from Wednesday. The extreme weather has wreaked havoc, raising concerns for the agriculture sector. Heavy monsoon rain has brought devastating floods to parts of India and Bangladesh, triggering landslides that have killed at least 15 people and displacing millions. Amid heavy rain, 9 people, including 8 Rohingyas, died in landslides in separate Rohingya camps in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. Sylhet and its neighboring districts are facing flooding due to continuous heavy rainfall over the past 3 days. Meanwhile, hundreds of visitors have tragically lost their lives during the annual Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca after scorching heat. According to diplomats, at least 550 people have died during Hajj, with Egyptians comprising a significant number. Reports indicate that 323 of the deceased were Egyptians, with most succumbing to heat-related illnesses. China is enduring a relentless heat wave, leading to what locals describe as stove-like conditions, with temperatures soaring in cities like Beijing and Shanghai. Farmers residing near a water reservoir in eastern Shandong province are grappling with relentless heat, which has persisted for over a month in the provincial capital of Jinan. While the Mexican Weather Service has issued warnings of intense rainfall expected overnight into Wednesday along coastal areas, including the Yucatan Peninsula, Tabasco and Chiapas. This announcement comes as Mexico prepares for the arrival of potential tropical cyclone 1. Amidst a wave of tourist arrivals on remote Matraki Island, the latest casualty in Greece's recent spate of tourist deaths due to high temperatures was discovered. Greek firefighters and aircraft on Wednesday confronted a fierce blaze in Koropi, a town located 30 kilometers south of Athens. US cities are shattering temperature records that have stood for decades as a severe heat wave grips central to eastern portions of the country this week. These extreme weather events highlight the growing impact of climate change worldwide. With Bureau Inputs, Ravindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
All right, now take a look at what else is making news around the world. Environmental protesters sprayed orange paint on Britain's world-famous prehistoric structure Stonehenge on Wednesday. 2 individuals have been arrested on suspicion of damaging the ancient monument. Located in southern England, Stonehenge is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of Britain's most visited tourist attractions. Authorities in Poland have imposed a significant fine on a hospital for denying an abortion to a woman whose pregnancy may have endangered her life. The latest action by authorities marked a shift in a country with some of the strictest termination rules in Europe. A fire that broke out at a military ammunition depot in N'Djamena, Chad's capital, on Tuesday night triggered a series of powerful explosions.
19th century Indian philosopher Swami Vivekananda once said, "Through practice comes yoga, through yoga comes knowledge, through knowledge comes love, and through love comes bliss." With this vision in mind, let us pledge to incorporate yoga into our daily life. With camera person Vishwabandhu, this is Rahul Upadhyay reporting from New Delhi for DD India.
To celebrate the 10th edition of the International Day of Yoga, the Embassy of India in Nepal held a yoga demonstration on the banks of the Pheva Lake in Pokhara. The celebration began in the morning with a series of yoga sessions led by experienced instructors, showcasing a range of asanas, pranayama and meditation techniques. Participants were guided through the physical and mental benefits of each practice, emphasizing the holistic approach of yoga to physical and mental health. To business news now, NVIDIA has dethroned Microsoft to become the world's most valuable company. The company's chips play a central role in a race to dominate the market for artificial intelligence. NVIDIA is now worth $3.34 trillion, with the price having nearly doubled since the start of this year. The surge in shares pushed the stock to a record high, adding more than $103 billion to NVIDIA's market capitalization on Tuesday. And now to all the updates from the 18th edition of Mumbai International Film Festival. It's the 5th day of the 18th Mumbai International Film Festival. DD India's Shyama Mishra brings us a roundup of what all has happened at this all-important film festival in Mumbai, and that's showcasing the best of documentaries, animation and short films.
18th Mumbai International Film Festival hosted a special package for the specially abled under Divyangjan. The specially abled students from Sanskar Dham Vidyalaya and Victoria Memorial School for the Blind experienced Little Krishna, Jai Jagannath and the crossover films with Indian Sign Language. The films were made by India Signing Hands. International Competition Jury Chair Bharat Bala said the common theme witnessed in the competition movies were that of human issue. He added, India has infrastructure but documentaries are not shown, assuming that audience won't come. It's an uphill task, but it has to be done and government must step in. When hunger of people is seen, more documentaries will be there, he added. He was addressing the press along with members of jury.
The last couple of days, looking at the best of documentary work from around the world, and it just tells us and speaks aloud the status of MIF in the documentary space, and how compelling and how competitive they were. So it was a good challenge for all of us to find the best film.
National competition category jury also addressed the press today. Chairperson of the jury and Indian film producer Apurva Bakshi said it is remarkable to witness the authenticity and maturity of storytelling from different parts of India.
Content-wise and aesthetically, really it is very good, and it was very tough for us also. We are 5 jury members, and it was very tough for us to selecting and just finalizing the result and finalizing but the top one.
What was even more interesting is very restrained and mature filmmaking. We didn't see anybody, at least among the selected films, we didn't see anybody going overboard with that. There was a very mature handling of the medium. I think the filmmakers knew why they were using animation.
Screenings and several other sessions were also held throughout the day at MIFF or MIF. Shama Mishra's report for DD India.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hour. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR